Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
It's great to hear your voice, Dr. Shealy. Anything new that you'd like to share with us about what's new in the world of Dr. Norman Shealy?
Tomorrow, I am doing the most important experiment, I believe, ever. You know that we had remarkable results with live blood analysis exposed to sapphire-enhanced scalar.
Yes.
So, I have visiting me for several weeks now, coming up, a healer from Portugal. And she seems to be a very unique and outstanding spiritual healer, and we're going to measure drops of blood from two people before and after 20 minutes exposure to her healing energy, and then have her actually treat the two people and draw blood from the live person at the end of an hour. So we'll have two different outcomes. Does her energy change the live blood on a slide, the way scaling does? And does it change it at the same time in the human body itself, reducing inflammation 80%? If this works, and I believe it will, we have demonstrated that at least a spiritual healer with adequate energy, if you will, can tap into the most important energy in the universe, scalar.
Okay, can you say that one more time? So you've got a spiritual healer from Portugal, and she is going to heal a person, and you're going to test the blood.
A drop of blood taken out of the person before the healing, and another drop taken after the healing.
Right. And how long of a procedure is the healing?
1 hour.
Okay, it's a 1 hour healing. And then how does that relate to the scalar? Are you going to try the same type of a test with scalar and without?
Well, we're going to compare. We know that scalar reduces inflammation 80%. And so the question is, can she actually heal the blood outside the person as well as in the person?
Fascinating. So you're going to know this when we have your results?
By tomorrow afternoon.
Fascinating.
By 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Well, okay. And so you think this is the most important experiment you have ever done?
And the reason is, you see, scalar fills all empty space throughout the universe. To me, scalar is the physical manifestation of God's energy. And if a spiritual healer can tap that, that proves that they are truly a real spiritual healer.
I'm looking forward to hearing about this. I really am. And I wanted to share with you something that I've experienced, and I believe this is related to scalar as well. My hair is growing like crazy. Mrs. Finelli's. Well, here's something that... And yours too?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, you keep your hair short. Now, you may not have had the same experience that I'm having, but my hair is getting curly. I mean, really curly.
Oh, that is interesting. I'll have to let mine grow out and find out. I've never had curly hair.
Well, my wife can't believe it. I won't say it's like an afro. It's not quite like that. But it's maybe the closest thing that an Italian heritage guy could have to an afro.
Well, I'm happy to get a haircut every 2 weeks instead of every 3 weeks.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. Fingernails are growing like crazy. Toenails are growing like crazy. It's unbelievable. It really is. And so I wanted to share that with you. That is an experience that I'm having, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to grow my hair long like Michael Landa did in Little House of the Prairie. I've done that many times, and I'm halfway there, maybe a little more than halfway there. And I'm thinking that for the summer, being out on the tractor and in the sun and so forth, that it might be a good thing and add a little more protection for my skin. But it's really getting curly, kind of like Michael Landon's really. And his name was Eugene Ortner. Eugene Ortner, that was his real name. I believe that's right. Okay, so hair's growing like crazy. Are you finding anything else that is a result of the scalar energy that you and I and several others are participating in this test or trial?
Well, a dear friend of mine in California is reporting remarkable improvement in sleep.
Oh, absolutely. Mrs. Finelli, I would say she was a restless sleeper, and we'd go to bed and she'd be awake for hours. Now she's awake for like 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. She's out, and she used to say, "Don't wake me up. Don't talk to me. Don't wake me up." And that was, because she had so much trouble falling asleep. Not the case anymore. Absolutely not the case. So. Are there any other? I'm saying that I totally agree with everything that you've said so far. It's happened to us here using the scalar energy device that you and Lou Cassidy have designed and invented and manufactured. And so, class, here's what it is.
Yeah,
yes.
Let me put out a word to everybody listening about this. Lou has reached the capacity of his ability to make them time-wise. We have been looking for a couple of months now for a bigger manufacturer we can turn over the manufacturing of both the scalar and the PEMF so that Lou can work on research more and not have to worry about daily production.
I know two guys who are instructors, and I will email you their personal phone numbers if you'd like. One of them is Bert Bertonis in California. He's in Silicon Valley, California. He has quite a lot of experience manufacturing circuit boards. He and I have done that in the past, back in the 80s, and I left that field of manufacturing satellite receivers back in the 80s, but he has continued with all kinds of electronic manufacturing. He's an inventor, as you are, and he's right in the heart of where that kind of fabrication is done, wave soldering and so forth for circuit boards, computer design and etching of circuit boards. And then Andy Gibbs is another guy. He's one of our instructors, a great mechanical designer. And so I will put you in touch with them. I'll call them ahead of time to let them know that you may contact them. And, let me just tell our class who Andy Gibbs is. Andy Gibbs is an inventor, and you probably saw his products on vehicles, and he's been on the air with us many times. If you've ever seen those Yakima, Yakima, racks on top of cars, that's Andy Gibbs. He's the guy that designed all that. It was his company, and he sold it to another company years ago. He talked about that on the air. So I'll put you in touch with Bert Bertonis and Andy Gibbs, and I'm sure they have an answer. I'm absolutely certain that they can put you in touch with the right fabrication house to drive down the cost and produce them with an extremely high quality so that these circuit boards will last a long, long time.
Well, there's a big reason why I need to find them soon. Our study with narcotic addicts, locked up narcotic addicts, and the cranial PEMF device going so well that the word is leaking out. We've had a call from the criminal department for narcotic addiction in Arkansas wanting to know how they can get the device.
Okay.
And we're not even ready to push that yet. However, we've gone 6 weeks, and 2/3 of the 8 of the 12 patients have total absence of all symptoms that they had before. The other 4 are at least 50% better already. So let's say we're going to get phenomenal long-term results with narcotic addiction.
Dr. Shealy, I believe, if my memory is correct, that you thought, and I believe you said this on air, correct me if I'm wrong, please, that this was your greatest medical invention ever, and the greatest medical invention ever. Is that correct?
Well, it is in that respect. Now, when we finish at the end of the year, the Sapphire Enhanced Scalar, that may equal it.
Okay. So what I'm talking about is the Sapphire Enhanced Scalar Energy.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, that device.
The two, that and the PEMF are both extremely important.
Okay. Now, the for the drug addiction, can you tell us a little bit about how you have what from the person who is the drug addict? What does that person do with your equipment? What is the procedure?
Well, we designed a baseball cap with our logo on it just so it would look good. Mm-hmm. And they wear it on the top of the baseball cap, essentially right on top of the head, for a minimum of an hour a day. They call it their halo. And interestingly, most of them are wearing it several hours a day because they love the effect. They often say, I have never felt this good in my life.
Okay. How about, have you experienced anything like someone saying, Dr. Shealy, I think I'm more creative. I think I have more get up and go. I think I'm able to concentrate better. I think that if I were an inventor, this would put me over the top in terms of being able to complete that design.
All of those, yes. They make lots and lots of comments.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely fascinating. Wow, this is the coolest thing. Class, let me describe what this is. I have both of these devices here. And the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device is a coil, let's say the size of about the size of the diameter of your head, maybe just a little bit smaller. And there's a control driver box that is hooked up to a power supply, which is wall-powered, AC-powered, and doesn't make any noise. It's non-invasive. There's no cutting, no surgery, no chemicals. And that is the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device. We come back, Dr. Shealy, can we talk about, can that be used for people with heart problems? Yeah, Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, we were talking about scalar energy, and I was describing the PEMF device, absolutely non-invasive. Now, is that available right now from your website?
It is on the website, yes, it is available. Mm-hmm. You can buy it with 1 coil or 2 coils and with or without a cap.
2 coils. Okay.
Well,
tell me about this.
People,
okay.
For some people where they have widespread pain or both legs, putting it around, both calves can be helpful.
Okay. And what other maladies are you considering treating with the pulsed electromagnetic frequency coil?
Hypertension.
One
woman whose blood pressure was like 175 over 105 or 10. Within a half hour, it came down to totally normal, 120 over 80. Another woman whose blood saturation, because of chronic lung disease, was 75%. Within less than an hour, it was 98%, which is normal. Mm-hmm. And diabetic neuropathy, of course, is the excellent one.
Can you share with us the lung condition, please, and how did you do that?
Well, actually, it's just chronic obstructive pulmonary, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. They have emphysema and they get a lot of scarring in the lungs, and they lose the ability to, absorb oxygen. In her case, we just hung it around her neck, right over the upper chest.
Okay. And, my mom was one of the early ones to try this PEMF device when you brought one over to the farmhouse. And I put it over her head, and she would just, kind of sit there and read or just sit with it for about a half an hour. And within a few days, I noticed the most amazing thing. My mom was losing her hearing. And, I would talk to her, and she would understand what I was saying by reading my lips as well as, hearing the sounds. But, I'd have to speak louder and louder and louder over the years. Well, the most amazing thing was that we're in the kitchen, and I talked to her from the other side of the kitchen. The kitchen's pretty long. It's really a long kitchen. And I was speaking in a normal voice, and she could hear me and understand, as if she had dramatically improved hearing, without any surgery, without any chemicals, without any procedures from a doctor, mechanically working on her ears. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. So that's what I saw.
Yeah, that is obviously quite fascinating, to say the least. I would love to do a study on that, because hearing loss is one of the most common things in the world. Yes.
And my grandfather, her father, he was hard of hearing, and we attributed that to him being in World War I. The cannon shells, the gunfire, the trench warfare, all that kind of stuff that was going on. People weren't worried. Soldiers weren't worried about hearing loss. They were worried about loss of life, especially their own. In that kind of grueling, grisly, barbaric warfare of the trench warfare of World War I. And we just assumed, maybe incorrectly, that that's what that was, a result of the war and the loud noises, that he had hearing loss. But maybe it was something else too, or something adding to it, maybe hereditary, that my mom seemed to inherit, because my dad didn't have that issue at all. Okay, I think that's absolutely fascinating. So, class, this is a coil, and think of it like a small, like a little hula hoop, about the size that would fit on top of your head, and depending on your head size, it might fit over your head. And what I did was I slightly bent it so it would fit over my mom's head and around her neck. And 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time she used it, and very, very interesting. So the next thing, of course, is the scalar energy device, which looks like a plexiglass picture frame. And both of these devices are silent. Again, it plugs into the wall, and there's an indicator light that tells you that it's working. And that's what we were talking about with the blood test that's going to be going on. Quite fascinating. Dr. Shealy and I will be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. Class, if you're interested in any of these devices that we're talking about, you can go to normshealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, do you recommend someone who needs more information call your office, or is all the information on your website?
They can find, if they search the website, they'll find all kinds of articles and information related to both devices.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I got a call from, or a contact from Bert Bertonis, the engineer who's a senior USA preparedness instructor here, and he said he heard you on George Norrie's Coast to Coast.
Right? Saturday a week ago.
He said, "Hey, I heard Dr. Shealy." I said, "Yeah, isn't that great?" I was all excited about that. So, small world, yes? There are several of us several of our instructors who have appeared on Coast to Coast with Art Bell or George Norrie or Ian Punnett, Matt Stein, Rick Miller, and others. Stan Deo, Linda Moulton Howe, Stanton Friedman. And that's great. I love it. I sent Bert Bertonis and Andy Gibbs the information about your call so that they're aware of it, and you've got their numbers, correct?
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Dr. Shealy, yesterday I had a chance to go to a cookout, dear friends of ours, and I met a gentleman who was wearing a device on his hip, and I thought, wow, that's kind of big for a phone. Well, it was a medical device that I think was delivering medication that he needed to dissolve a blood clot in his heart. So he said, he just came up and said hi, and he was indicating that something was wrong, and we were talking about it. And I said, well, can you share with us what's going on? Maybe Dr. Shealy has an answer, and I'll ask him tomorrow. So here's what he said. He said that he has congestive heart failure. He's about my age, afibrillation, and he has an erratic pulse. His heart skips beats, and he has this blood clot in his heart. And I said, well, let me mention this to Dr. Shealy. And he says that his heart is currently operating at about 15%. Now, he's working. You would think that he'd be, his heart operating at 15%, he wouldn't be able to do very much, but he's got a very active job. He rides horses. Kind of a strenuous job. Do you have any suggestions for someone who is in that condition, Dr. Shealy? What can he do?
Well, there we need a more thorough evaluation of why is his heart that bad. What else is going on? Does he have diabetes? Does he have thyroid trouble? Does he have hypertension? Is he on any kind of medication? Mm-hmm. All of those things will determine what we might recommend. Mm-hmm. So he really needs at least a telephone, if nothing else, consultation to decide what to recommend.
Okay. Is magnesium supplements, your lotion or spray, is that something that could hurt him, or is that worth a try? Would never hurt that we know of. Okay. All right. I will get him that information. He actually may be listening now. Would you like to share with us how we can get in touch with you? Those of us in class who want to come see you and Dr. Sergey Sorin at your practice. What is the best way to contact you? Make an appointment. Phone here at the office is 417-351-5221. Okay, 417-351-5221. Now, for someone who is not able to travel easily, Dr. Shealy, let's say someone were out of state, or it's just too much to be in a car, for hours to come from wherever they are to Springfield, Missouri. What other methods do you have of helping them? How can you do that? Well, we do telephone consultations as well as Skype. Okay. So they can both be arranged through the office. Okay. And if they do Skype, can that be done with video as well, so you can see? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So there you go, class. You can have electronic telemedicine. You can meet with Dr. Shealy via Skype, and that's free. Skype is free. There's an arrangement you'll have to make with Dr. Shealy's office. Let me give you that number again, 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. That's the office number. During normal business hours, you can call and talk to one of the staff who will help you. Okay. Dr. Shealy, I met another man yesterday, and he said, a few years older than I, he said that he has type 2 diabetes. His sugar tests come in at about 150, or they used to come in at about 150. And he started taking a couple tablespoons of black cherry juice 3 times a day, and he believes that drove his sugar test down to 100 or so. Have you heard of that? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It is very anti-inflammatory. Well, okay. So should people who have other concerns be on black cherry juice as well? I mean, is that something everyone... cherry juice is loaded with antioxidants. Mm-hmm. And antioxidants are good for everything. Okay. And he said that, he was raised in Georgia, and he loves his sweets, and it's just... Boy, I'll tell you what, it's addictive, right? Sugar is addictive. It's and you said it's poison. But, boy, it's like, I guess it's like tobacco, right? Addictive and poison at the same time. Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of poison, have we talked about aluminum cans? Yes, we have, but, not everybody's in class every day. So I think that is absolutely worth repeating. The dangers. Now, and what you found in 3 different varieties of drinks: ginger beer, Q ginger beer, Coca-Cola, and Old Milwaukee beer. All of them are pure aluminum inside. And
everything that's inside those cans is very toxic to you. Don't ever drink anything out of an aluminum can again. There's a fable that these cans are supposed to be coated with something to prevent them from getting to the aluminum. That is absolute nonsense. I haven't found a single coated can yet.
So, let's expand this. So, if you're concerned about aluminum toxicity, there's all kinds of sodas in cans. There's even seltzer water in cans, right?
Exactly. Junk.
Yeah. And so we're talking about aluminum foil. Don't cook with it, right? Don't cover your foods with it. If you're going to, put that roast in the oven and you're thinking about covering it with aluminum foil to cook it, no, right? And when you take that roast out of the oven, you don't put it in the aluminum foil. And if you're out having one of those cookout type things, and you're going to take those baked potatoes and scrub them and then put them in aluminum foil and then put them in the fire or near the fire, or nope, you don't want to do that either. Wow. And then of course there are aluminum water bottles, nice and lightweight to carry with you, and put your water in there so you can have fresh water to drink with you, bring with you. You don't want to do that either. Wow, it's almost endless, Dr. Shealy, because aluminum is cheap, it's light, and toxic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, can we get this out of our system if we have been subjected to it over the years, which we all have?
Well,
how do we get
chelation? It's some kind of chelation. Actually, I'm the one who found out that I was extremely toxic from drinking Q ginger beer. And ginger beer is not alcoholic; it's pure. It's like a triple strength ginger ale. And I am doing a chelation, a natural chelation from cheap cloud powder. But some people are actually going to need EDTA or DMSA.
Okay. And how long does it take to chelate aluminum out of our bodies?
At the best, 3 months. Could take longer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And are there any negative effects as this aluminum is being purged through excretion?
No, there's many more negative effects from leaving it in your system.
Okay.
It's very toxic.
What about sweat? Is that one way to remove toxic elements from your body? I mean, I'm talking about a hot bath, a whirlpool bath.
Yeah, it would help, but it's probably not going to be strong enough for aluminum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, all right.
More likely to get rid of biochemical stress, like toxic biochemical processes than metals. But hey, any detox is better than none.
What's coming to mind, Dr. Shealy, is the expression from the South where I used to live in Virginia. I used to could, and I'm thinking about, people would say, well, I used to could remember that, I'm having trouble now, but I used to could. And I'm thinking about all those who have memory problems, the prevalence of Alzheimer's in every family, where there are seniors. People are just saying that their memory is not what it used to be. Aluminum toxicity, is that part of it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so I remember, back in the 1960s, my dad was telling me about a Coca-Cola bottling plant. And they had the syrup, and they were mixing the syrup with the water, and they were adding carbonation to it. So they were making Coca-Cola from the syrup at the bottling plant. And the piping that they had to use, as my dad told me, they could not use metal pipe. They used glass pipe, because the Coca-Cola syrup was so corrosive that it would eat through metal pipe. Okay, whether it be copper or brass or steel or stainless or whatever it was, it would eat through it. So they had to use glass. And glass seemed to be able to hold up the best. However, that dilute Coca-Cola that's made from that syrup that eats pipes is in a can, and it will eat the can. And you get to drink the aluminum can. Slowly. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, is with us. And if you'd like to go to his website, get the newsletter that Dr. Shealy sends out multiple times per week, you go to normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, we were talking about hypertension before, and is hypertension, is one of the manifestations of hypertension high blood pressure?
That is how you diagnose it, yes.
Mm-hmm. And what do we know what the cause of hypertension is? Because I remember my dad came back from the doctors when he was probably around 40 or 50 years old, somewhere in there. And he said, yeah, I've got hypertension. Now, he had a really stressful job. He was the principal of a school. And
well, you just answered it, stress.
Yes.
It is some form of stress. It can be psychological, it can be physical, it can be chemical. It's stress.
Okay. So to reduce blood pressure, high blood pressure, what do we do?
Well, the interesting thing is that you must reduce stress, but there are many roads to Rome. In general, my first trial right here in the office is 15 to 30 drops of Kyani Nitro Extreme. The reason for that is, it takes less than a minute a day to take that twice. And most people, time is critical. So we always try that. And it works well and totally safely in 70% of people. But interestingly, in 30% of people, it doesn't work. Then we have to go into other things. And the other things can vary all over the place. But my second choice, generally, it's 12 capsules or pills, if you will, 2 of Dr. Shealy's Essentials, 4 of Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula, and at least 6,000 units of amino acid taurine. That reduces blood pressure in 90% of people. So we're already up to well over 97% of people. If we add autogenic training, that takes 18 minutes twice a day, but that reduces blood pressure in 80% of people. Putting all these together, 99.8% of the time, we can bring blood pressure under control totally safely.
Okay. Now, can you give us those numbers one more time about Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula and let's see, your multivitamin as well, and taurine? What were the quantities?
Okay, Youth Formula 4 a day, Dr. Shealy's Essential 2 a day, and amino acid taurine 6,000 milligrams a day.
Okay, 2 Dr. Shealy's Essentials per day, and you can get that on the website normshealy.com. You can get the Youth Formula. It would be 4 of those a day on the website as well. Or you can stop in, as I do. I buy them right from Dr. Shealy's clinic. I love the Youth Formula. I mean, if I feel some inflammation, I just take some more. So I literally, class, consume probably 6 a day. 6 of Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula. It's vitamin C plus MSM and 6,000 milligrams of taurine per day. And Dr. Shealy, how do we take taurine?
Well, it comes in 1,000 milligram capsules, and so ideally you would take 2 of those with each meal.
Okay, with food. Okay, very good. And what I found, Dr. Shealy, is that if I drink a lot of water, that'd be water, not in an aluminum can, not soda with sugar, water. If I drink a lot of water, that brings my blood pressure down.
You're right. Most people are not drinking enough water.
And typically my blood pressure is now running about 116 to 121 over something in the 70s, like maybe 72 to 74. How does that sound?
Excellent.
Okay. So, class, I'm doing that I've eliminated a lot of sugar, almost all of it, and a lot of wheat. And I eat a lot of greens, and it just works. So you got the recipe now. You've got the prescription, from Dr. Shealy to reduce your blood pressure. We'll be back right after these top-of-the-hour news and commercial announcements. NormShealy.com. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Dr. Shealy and I are blissed, and you can get the same bliss oils on the website, NormShealy.com. Dr. Shealy, we're talking about hypertension in hour number 1. Exercise. How important is exercise to reducing high blood pressure?
Well, interestingly, exercise is a great overall stress reducer. A study back in the 80s showed that 30 minutes of just moderate exercise is at least as good and a lot better than 20 milligrams of Valium.
Okay, so when we're talking about exercising, we're not talking about using the remote control on a TV, are we? You know, moving that thumb.
That's the couch potato syndrome. It means at least a moderately brisk walk. A moderately brisk walk would be, well, let's say 15-minute mile, 2 miles, 15 minutes a mile. Mm-hmm. A brisker mile would be 12 minutes for a mile.
You know, that's something that Mrs. Finelli and I do. You know, when in the heat of the day, like now it's really hot outside, and the sun is beating down on us here at the farm in Missouri. And we spend a lot of time outside. But, you know, in the evenings we like to, you know, take the dogs for a walk, on the farm. And it, I don't know, it just makes us feel better. Just being out there together, the exercise. And overall, you know, it's wonderful because we're not thinking about the list that we haven't completed, all those things that we haven't done. We're just, you know, enjoying each other's company, looking at the fields, nature, the trees, and it's really nice. And I'd suggest that our class consider doing that as well. You know, if you can, get outside, whether it's walk around the block, whatever it is, to get that body moving. I think it's absolutely critical. Because, Dr. Shealy, I've learned that when you're in the hospital, you know, if you're lying in that bed and if you're not moving, it takes many days per day of hospitalization to get your body back into shape. So just not doing anything weakens your body. Is that correct? You
get it. Going to bed for a week is at least as stressful as breaking your leg.
Yeah. And, you know, we okay. So according to the Mayo Clinic, they say everything that Dr. Shealy has been saying for years, as long as I've known Dr. Shealy, as long as we've been broadcasting together, they say, you know, if you want to control your high blood pressure without medication, lose that fat. Lose those extra pounds.
Every pound overweight increases your risk for cancer, hypertension, and diabetes, among others.
Mm-hmm. So lose the weight, then exercise regularly. You've been saying that for as long as I've known you. Eat a healthy diet. You know, read those darn labels. And if it has things that you can't pronounce, that's probably an indication that it's not good for you.
You bet.
You don't need all those ingredients. Yeah. Well, and here's something that they say, and I'm not sure of the answer to this. Reduce sodium. Well, you've got to have some sodium, right? About, 1,500 milligrams for most of us?
Well, actually, interestingly, even 250 milligrams is perfectly safe.
I'm sorry. How much sodium should we take per day?
Well, it's the equivalent of at least a half teaspoon of salt.
Okay. So that's how much we should have per day.
Yeah.
And that would be, so if a person buys canned green beans, wow, it's already in there. As a matter of fact, I have trouble eating canned beans because they're so salty.
Right.
Soups. A can of chicken soup, oh, wow. It's so salty I can't take it. It's just too much for me.
Most canned goods are over-salted. But then, most canned, if you can your own green beans at home,
right. Mm-hmm.
They're much better.
Do you recommend that if someone just can't get as many fresh foods as he or she would prefer, do you recommend rinsing? So if they're going to have canned beans, do you recommend soaking them in purified water and having that sodium leach out of the beans before cooking and eating them? Do you recommend that, or is it just not going to work?
Halitosis is better than no breath at all. However,
Okay.
I prefer freezing. The one thing, I freeze enough bell peppers, green beans, asparagus, eggplant, zucchini, etc., to last me all winter.
Eggplant. My dad used to love pickled eggplant. And there was some kind of an Italian dish that my grandmother would make. Eggplant parmigiana, maybe?
Oh, yes. And that's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so one of the questions I thought I'd love to ask you, because we haven't really discussed it in this way, but, it's garden time. And there are those of us who want to plant a garden. What does Dr. Shealy recommend that we plant in our garden? If it hasn't been rototilled, that's what you got to do this weekend, okay? Rototill the area for your garden, get it ready. And it would be great if it were ready before now, but, I think there's still time. What do you recommend that we plant in our garden, Dr. Shealy? What would be the keys?
I spent 6 hours working in my garden for the second weekend in a row, and I have already planted okra, green beans, lima beans, carrots, asparagus, of course, long-term, cucumbers, kale, chard, spinach, lettuce, onions, garlic, probably a few other things. And I will plant later green winter squash of various kinds and Brussels sprouts, etc.
Okay. Here's what I have on our list. Many of the same items. Tomatoes.
Oh, yes, of course. I forgot tomatoes. 10 of those.
Probably the number one item, right, in the garden, number one plant. Peppers. Now, I like hot peppers, jalapenos, Anaheim, chili peppers, and something called Italienne. They are like really, really, really hot. Small peppers, really hot. A little goes a really, really long way. And, of course, beans. I was thinking about planting corn this year, a non-GMO corn. Radishes. Mrs. Finelli makes great freezer pickles. So we plant cucumbers, and she makes freezer pickles. And, of course, onions. And lettuce, spinach, kale. I love kale. Kale in a soup, it is crunchy. I love it. My mom used to love...
concentration of calcium of any vegetable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned radishes. Now, that's something that is a great food for young people to plant, I believe. When a young person, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, starts planting seeds in the garden just to see what happens, great success with radishes and carrots. I think it's a great way to go because young people like carrots and radishes. So they get a chance to plant them, watch them grow, pick them, wash them, eat them, put them in a salad. Wonderful way for young people to learn about the garden and having a success right away. If they keep it watered and they pay attention to it, great way to go. Okay, so Dr. Shealy, when we plant these plants and we eat them, would you say that we are way better off than if we were to buy those at the food store or the supermarket?
Yeah, way is too small. A huge number.
Well, and because we probably are not going to use pesticides, herbicides, and all those poisons that the plants are going to uptake, and you're going to get a chance to eat those poisons slowly. Yeah. Okay. I'm all excited about the garden. I'm looking forward to it. And one of the things that we've done differently this year, we had a couple bottle calves. And a bottle calf is a little calf that mama cow either died or didn't know what to do with or neglected. And so we rescued that calf day number 1 or day number 2 and have them in the backyard. And what we literally have done, Dr. Shealy, is we've fenced in the area right against the house. So we have two calves, Bessie and Joe, and they sleep on the front porch. They look in the window. I've got nose prints all over our front door, and they're I guess they're house pets now. And we had this garden that was fenced in with cattle panels. Cattle panels they're these heavy wire, 16-foot long panels, about 4 feet tall. We put some green posts in, pounded them into the ground. We have a raised bed garden, and it's let's say it's maybe 30-something by 30-something. We put a gate in there, and we put the calves in there. Now, the calves tore up all the weeds through their running around in the garden. They've semi-rototilled it for us, but then we have fresh manure and urine in there. And that was a concern about E. coli. So what we did, and I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, Dr. Shealy, but I'd love to hear your opinion. We put black plastic over the garden. The calves are out of it, have been for weeks. Put black plastic over it, and the sun beats down on that black plastic and really heats up the ground to a pretty significantly high temperature. Do you think that's enough to mitigate or eliminate the potential for E. coli, or do we have to do something else?
No, I think so. That's going to turn it into compost within 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And do you think that the E. coli scare and E. coli problem that we've had with romaine lettuce, do you think that's because of raw manure being used in some farms? Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go, class. Very serious concern. Norm Shealy and I will be right back. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, I was talking to a young guy. He's a budding entrepreneur, and he's thinking about opening a business, and the business is in a kind of like a strip mall, and in a city that seems like it's sprawling. It's not an old city; it's a relatively new city in the Midwest, and so I said, well, can you send me some pictures of it? I'd love to see the area. So I'm looking at these pictures of this building and the strip mall, and it looks like there are high voltage power lines running along the sidewalk, along the street, right in front of the building. I mean, small distance between the front door of the store, if you will, and the high voltage power lines. Then 3 blocks away, there's a cell tower, and there's lots of traffic. And I'm thinking, man, yeah, it's great that there are cars going by to stop in, but the pollution, the high voltage power lines, the transformers that are on the high voltage power lines, and the cell tower just a couple blocks away. Wow. So would you be interested in being in that environment, Dr. Shealy?
No. Under no circumstance.
Yeah. Pretty, and it's everywhere. I mean, if you look at what people used to do to determine whether they were going to put their business there, like at a gas station, they would do car counts. How many cars go by, per hour? And the more cars per hour, the better. And that drives me to the next thing, which is a study about air pollution. I was reading that children exposed to air pollution during their mother's third trimester were 60% more at risk for high blood pressure. So fine particles of pollution from cars and industrial processes and trucks and buses and those kind of things raise the risks for respiratory illnesses. This is according to Johns Hopkins research. So air pollution wreaks havoc on young fetuses before birth. A fetus will experience problems from air pollution. It makes sense to me, but we don't really talk about that very much, Dr. Shealy.
Well, stress is stress. And whether it occurs even before pregnancy, like if either parent is a smoker, already they've damaged the child if they're able to conceive.
Yeah.
So everything you do affects not only you, but your kids.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you live in the country, we live in the country. You know, we saw this. We saw that there was air pollution. I mean, back in the 60s, you could be at a traffic light, and this was before catalytic converters on cars and small trucks. You'd be at a traffic light, and as the vehicle idled, and then it started accelerating away, you'd see a puff of blue smoke. You kind of hold your breath so you didn't breathe that puff of blue smoke. If you're behind a city bus, there was a cloud of black smoke, or a semi tractor, clouds of black smoke. Now you don't see it so much because the particles are smaller, and there's still particles going in the air. It's just that we don't see them because we have catalytic converters that turn those large particles into small particles, and yeah, there's still pollution. It just is not as evident. And yes, we've taken lead out of gasoline, which is a good thing for people, not for the engines, but for people. And so it appears that there would be less pollution, but I don't think that's really the case. I think there's more pollution because there's more fuel being consumed by engines, petroleum-powered engines, than ever before. We're at record numbers of fuel consumption. So all that goes into the air, the unburned hydrocarbons, the burned hydrocarbons, the particles, and that's another reason to get out of the city. Absolutely.
And don't forget Roundup. 65% of all the rain in the country has Roundup in it. So on your farm, you cannot raise anything free from Roundup.
Yeah. And Roy Blunt, U.S. Senator, Mr. Roundup himself. He's the guy that wanted to make sure that we couldn't sue the chemical companies for killing us. He's the guy that sold us out for a few $1,000s. It's a disgrace. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, and I happen to mention U.S. Senator Roy Blunt. And class, in 2012, Roy Blunt received over $500,000 in contributions. And they were from companies that you might recognize: the Crawford Group, Elliott Management, Emerson Electric, Jones Financial, Northwestern Mutual. Monsanto gave him $74,000. Goldman Sachs, Peabody Energy, Blackstone, Hallmark Cards, Anheuser-Busch, and Bank of America, Wells Fargo. These are companies that have all made it in the news for skullduggery. Dr. Shealy, have you ever met Roy Blunt?
And don't want to, never have.
Yeah. Well, I met him.
Well, under any circumstance.
Yeah.
He's a crook.
Yeah. I'm
Claire McCaskill's worse. Claire McCaskill's worse.
Absolutely.
Both at the top of my list of never ever vote for them. Anybody running against them, I'll vote for instead of them.
Yes. And Roy Blunt was born in Niangua, Missouri, which is just 11 miles down the road from our farmhouse. And it's a little hamlet. There's nothing there. Nothing. There's a gas station and a post office. That's it. And the post office is open sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. And so that's where he was born. And he has risen to the ranks of getting over $500,000 in campaign contributions, of which $74,000 was pretty much all it took for him to sell us out and poison the planet. Roy Blunt. Absolute disgraceful. Absolutely. And I got to tell you what happens. I saw it firsthand. I was in a group of a couple thousand people at an electric cooperative meeting, and they were going to have a vote for the annual board of directors. And I was in the audience, and there were these two senior citizens, and one said to the other, so they were holding this voting ballot. Is this the guy we vote for? Is this the one? Now, they didn't know who they voted for. It took two of them to figure out who they voted for. So they can't remember who the thug is that they voted for that keeps raising the rates. But they want to reelect him. Because Well, they voted for him last time, and the time before, and the time before, and the time before that. That's what happens. It's stupidity on steroids, ignorance on steroids. And we keep doing it. We keep re-electing the same thieves. It's disgraceful. And we should consider giving anybody else a chance. Anybody. Anybody has got to be better than the current thief. Got to be. Okay.
Well,
Dr. Shealy, yes.
I don't know anybody in Congress I'd vote for a second time.
Right. I proposed to the electric cooperative. They said any new business after the election. And I said, yeah. So I got on the floor and I said, I walked up from the audience and I said, yes, term limits. 1 term is enough. 1 term. We don't need a guy to be on the board of directors for this electric cooperative for over 40 years. We don't need that. That's ridiculous. And I got shouted down. I literally was shouted down for bringing up term limits. Can you imagine that?
Oh,
These guys think that yeah. And the guy that's been there for 45 years, he runs unopposed. He doesn't even show up for the annual meeting. He doesn't need to. He gets reelected all the time. Doesn't even stand on stage and say, hey, oh, y'all, I'm from here. My mama's from here. My daddy, I was born right here. Appreciate your vote. Thank you very much. They don't even do that. And by the way, that's all it takes to win around here. Dr. Shealy, I was reading the warning on a box of toothpaste. And let me read this. And I'd like to ask you, what do you do to avoid this? So on all boxes of the big toothpaste brands, we talk about Pepsodent, Gleam, Crest, all of them, okay? Warning. It's right on the box. It's also on the tube. This is the exact verbiage. Warning. Keep out of reach of children under 6 years of age. Next sentence. This is it. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help immediately or contact a poison control center right away. Toothpaste.
Yeah, well, it's all poison, fluoride, among others.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Shealy, I remember when I was less knowledgeable about these things, I'm talking decades ago, brushing my teeth, rinsing out, and, you'd rinse out the toothpaste and it'd be kind of foamy. Then you'd rinse again, it'd be foamy. Then you rinse again, it'd be foamy. You'd rinse again, it'd still be foamy. You'd rinse again, it would still be foamy. The point is, your tongue has a lot of nooks and crannies and it's textured, and there are lots of places for the toothpaste to stay in your mouth, on your tongue, your gums, on your teeth. And all the rinsing that most people do, I would suggest, is inadequate, which means that the toothpaste is being swallowed. Maybe not with the first swallow, but maybe within the first couple of minutes. Brush your teeth, have breakfast, swallow the residual of brushing your teeth, that toothpaste, that fluoride, down into your digestive system, where it gets processed. Dr. Shealy, what do we do? Because obviously, rinse, and rinse is not really enough.
Well, first, second, and third, I will not buy any usual commercial toothpaste. I use NOW products, whitening, and they do not have any fluoride, and it seems to be one of the best. Tom's of Maine makes some non-fluoride toothpaste. But other than that, you just don't want to go near that junk.
Yeah, and, an interesting thing, next time I'm on stage, I think I'll bring a little tube of unused, sealed in the box toothpaste, and ask for a volunteer to come up and just eat one pea-sized portion after reading that warning, and I'll bet you no one will do it. I bet you if you say, what, you all use this every day, so how about just a little tiny swallow? What do you think? Gosh, it's right on the box. Warning, keep out of the reach of children under 6 years of age. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help immediately or contact a poison control center right away. Do not swallow. Supervise children as necessary until they're capable of using without supervision.
Never.
There you go. I mean, that's what it says. And so if you don't get enough fluoride in your toothpaste, no problem. No problem. Just turn on the faucet. If you live in a city or a municipality, you are almost guaranteed, in all circumstances, almost guaranteed to have it enhanced with toxic, poisonous fluoride, the same stuff that I just read you is on the warning label. Don't swallow it, not even accidentally. And if you do accidentally, contact a poison control center right away. We're talking about toothpaste. And where can you buy toothpaste? Everywhere. You can even get it at the dollar store, supermarkets, drugstores, everywhere. Toothpaste.
You should have a skull and crossbones on the package.
Well, that's what they used to. They used to have a skull and crossbone on packages of things that were dangerous and toxic for us. We're talking about the 1950s and the 1960s. That was a pretty clear warning. It'll turn you into a skeleton. So that's toothpaste. Dr. Shealy, I bought the coolest thing. I was telling our engineer this morning about it, Andy, and I said, Andy, I bought the coolest thing. I bought a square baler. Now, there's a medical reason why I'm talking about this. So, Dr. Shealy, this square baler was built, I believe, in 1959. It's an antique, and I paid a very little amount for it. What you'd pay for the scrap metal. And I have to get some parts for it. And it's a New Holland brand square hay baler. And I'm getting another one just like it for salvage scrap metal price. For the, you weigh the amount that this thing weighs and say, okay, how much is that worth for the steel in it? That's what I'm paying. I mean, nothing. And I'm going to put these two together and make one really good one out of it. And I'm going to bale square bales of plants. And I was thinking, I don't know of anyone who has done this, but I was thinking about growing hemp, not marijuana, but hemp. And I was thinking that there must be some medical benefits for hemp, hemp oil, and products made with hemp. What do you think about eating hemp, Dr. Shealy? Can we sprinkle that ground up hemp on our salads? Is there a benefit to that, or am I just losing?
It actually has the highest quality protein of any vegetable matter.
Okay. So maybe this is worth pursuing. So if I bale this hemp, I was thinking that I could even feed it to the cows. And I was thinking about, in the wintertime when they're not eating, and even in the summertime, I was thinking about cutting it, tedding it, spreading it around in the field, then raking it, then baling it with the square baler, and then putting those bales inside the barn where they're kept, clean and dry. And then in the wintertime, giving the cows some of this hemp. And also, I was thinking of trying to collect the hemp seeds and pressing them for CBD oil. Can we talk about CBD oil, and what are your thoughts about that when we come back? We're talking about hemp. Not marijuana, but it's similar, but without the hallucinogenic effect. Last, Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. And we're talking about hemp. And I'm thinking about growing it. And in the corrupt state of Missouri, our state government says you can grow hemp. You can grow hemp. I'm not sure what kind of inspections, detections, and rejections they dish out, but I'm sure that we'll be inundated with these parasites as we pursue this. But Dr. Shealy, are we able to eat hemp? Can we sprinkle it on our salads? What are your thoughts?
Well, hemp seed is a very good quality protein. And so, I keep a little bit in the fridge to add sometimes to a slush or something.
Okay. So if we can separate out those seeds, we can eat them as a protein supplement. What about the hemp oil that's contained in the seeds? Is there
also excellent? CBD oil is safe. There are no hallucinogenic fix. I don't believe in medical marijuana. I think that's nonsense. But the hemp, plain old stuff is good, and the hemp oil is good.
Okay, so I have to do a little bit of backyard engineering to figure out how I'm going to separate the seeds from the hemp plants, how I'm going to dry it in the sun, how I'm going to do those things. And my son, I just ran into the kitchen where my son and Mrs. Finelli are, and I said, I'm all excited. We're going to get that second baler. We'll combine two of these old balers, get one of them working perfectly, and the hay wagon, because we're going to pick up the hay wagon. And my son's like, really? We got to do all this? Yeah, we got to do all we got to do all and I have this.
There's never a dull moment as a Finelli household. I can tell you
that. Our children, if I go, hey, they go, no. Do we have to? Hey, and like John Regan, I call John Regan. Hey, he goes, is it Monday already? Or because I call him on Mondays, and it's. I have all these ideas that I think they're just going to explode if I just don't do something about them. I'm going to explode. And there's so many things I want to do and not enough time, Dr. Shealy. That's the problem. But I don't consider that stress.
What a healthy, creative mind is.
Yeah. And this is, I've been, I guess that I'm taking colostrum also. And I got to tell you, there is a new source of extra energy in addition to all the other supplements that I'm taking, and the PEMF and the scalar energy and the CBD oil. I mean, all these things, and of course the youth formula. I think I'm younger. I really think I'm younger, Dr. Shealy. In at least how I'm acting and my mental creativity, those kinds of processes. It's really working well for me. So I wanted to suggest that in our class, check out the scalar energy device, normshealy.com. Check out the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device. And you mentioned for COPD. Dr. Shealy, do you think that, is it a reversal device? Can it reverse COPD? Can it help the body consume?
I think it can. I mean, obviously you want to do it as early as possible, but yes, but it does need to be used, in that case, quite a few hours a day. The nice thing about it, you can put it under your mattress. It goes through the mattress, so you can sleep with it. Okay.
So now some mattresses, well, I guess maybe all mattresses, or almost all, that I know of have coils, springs, either like a torsional spring or a circular type of a spring. Is there any concern about the electromagnetic reflections, attenuation, amplification of the springs in the mattress?
Not at all.
Okay. All right. So now, and so with someone with POD, if they're sleeping on their back or their side, do they still get the effects of the pulsed electromagnetic frequency coil?
Yes, they can check it out with a little magnet that comes with it. Put it on top of the mattress. If it moves, it's coming through.
There you go. Class, normshealy.com if you'd like to learn more about it. And Norm Shealy is in Springfield, Missouri, and you can call him. The number is 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221 if you'd like to set up an appointment or consultation or get directions. Thank you so much, Dr. Shealy.